Hey everybody, and welcome back to Templar's Tabletop. Today we've got a fun topic which is all about humor in tabletop role-playing games. Now I will warn you, to get this information that I'm about to present, I had to delve to a very dangerous location, and that is in fact Reddit. All of these responses come from the RPG subreddit on the internet. So let's take a look at the original post and see some of the conversation that followed. How much humor is too much at the table? This was prompted by this experience I had in college where I was pretty new to DMing, and I described to our party this giant purple worm. It was gnashing its teeth and it was dripping with caustic acid. Hopefully a clear warning sign not to be too flippant with your approach. And one player decided that it would be very funny to try to bite this worm. And for me, you're trying to set the stakes, and probably some of it was insecurity as a new GM, but you're trying to set the stakes and people are taking it just absolutely like a joke. That kind of stuck out to me. Additionally, I'm noticing that most of the actual play podcasts, people actually playing, they often tend towards a comedic element. And so my ultimate question was, am I just a grumpy gamer mentally yelling at people? Or is there a need in our hobby for more grounded role-playing or more serious role-playing? Let's see what the internet had to say. First off, very exciting, we have a top 1% commenter. So thank you for visiting our little post and giving us some of your wisdom. Thank you, top 1%er. They say, if there is a generalized trend, I'm not certain I've seen one. I don't know if it's a negative thing. It's just what people are enjoying and consuming. But it's also fine if it's not really what you want. It's a matter of personal taste, and everyone should be having a good time. And importantly, make sure that people talk about it beforehand. I think that is a great answer, and that's actually a really good summary of a lot of the answers that I got on this post, was that basically you need to communicate with your table. If certain people want more fun, then just make sure you're upfront about it. If you want it to be a little more serious, communicate. So I thought that was a really, really great comment. Thank you for stopping by. Let's take a look at a few other ones that people talked about. It's not even that I'm against humor, but I suspect that a lot of these shows are probably run by pro comedians. When you have people that aren't as experienced trying to do that, they end up doing stuff like Bite the Purple Worm, which leans towards absurdism. I've had several instances over the years of someone who wasn't super invested doing stuff like derailing the stuff in the character for no reason. So we just secured a button that the villain was going to use to destroy the town we were trying to save. I'm going to push the button. I get the impression they think they're showing their playful or irreverent side, but they're just being delusional griefers for the most part. Well said, delusional griefers. I think that's kind of where I draw the line too as well. The idea that it's okay to have fun and to be silly, but when your fun is negatively impacting the table, that can be something that is not fun for the other people that signed up, depending on the game that you wanted to play. So again, communicate early, but importantly, make sure that your fun, your silliness is not detracting from other people's. Let's see a few other. This one I thought was great. It's the Thor Love and Thunder problem. If everyone is comic relief, then there's no actual relief. There's just noise with nowhere for the jokes to land and no room for a heartfelt or serious moment. I think that's a great way to say it. If you lean towards all comedy and no relief, then it just becomes a little bit one note. In the same way that being all serious with no moments of lightness would get a little one note as well. So I think it's really all about trying to find that good balance. And I'll actually talk about a little later in the video what's my suggestion for improving your role playing, but you have to stick around to watch that. Hashtag YouTuber plug. All right, continuing on. I like jokes in my humor in my games to kind of follow a little bit of a flow chart, making funny, witty comments in character, making jokes out of character about what's going on, just making fun of the game itself and showing that you don't really care. Your player did the latter. And I complimented. I thought that was a great flow chart. And I think that there is a good hierarchy there. A joke in character that goes with the story is always appreciated. Joking about the situation just at the table is not bad, as long as, in my opinion, as long as it's not so much that it's detracting from the game. And then finally making jokes that either detract from the story or are not about the table. At least when I play, my goal is let's sit down, play a game, have a fun story all together. So I think that this person said it very well. What is my recommendation for having better moments of humor? And I think it actually is perfectly encapsulated by the scene in Lord of the Rings. If you've seen the movie, the hobbits are in Moria. It's a very tense situation. They're surrounded by death. And there's this moment where one of the hobbits knocks the skeleton down the well. And Gandalf just lights into him. And so it is a funny moment. There's this character that has done something accidental, and eventually it leads to, the party being pursued. But the humor comes from the fact that there's real stakes. People actually care about what's going on. It's not just slapstick for no reason. It's because in that moment, what happened was very funny. So in story comedy that is motivated, I think that that's always great. And so as a role player, how can you practice those moments? Listen to the scene and try to figure out what does my character want, and look for times that there might be a moment of humorous interjection. I said earlier in one of the posts that might be my dramatic theater background coming out a little bit, but hopefully it's a tip that might help you in your games, because that's what we're all about here at Templars Tabletop. Let's take a look at a few more responses here. This one, I asked for a simple answer and I got it. How much humor is too much? 3.175 metric guffaws or 3 snaddled chortles per 86 minutes. Dr. McGuffin, thank you. You gave the answer that the people wanted, and now we definitively know how much is too much. Very nice. And I actually responded at the bottom of this to something that kind of stood out to me, which illustrates one of my previous points. I recently played at a convention game where I'm not joking about this, about 40% of the time that I spent there for about the 2 hours was people joking around either out of character or joking about things that weren't related to the game. And again, if you want to have fun and sit down with your friends and joke, I'm not your fun police, you do whatever you want. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that when you're together for a specific purpose, like playing a role-playing game, in my opinion, one of the way to be more considerate would be to value people's time and at least try to engage in the story. If you want to chat, if you want to goof around, that is awesome, that's fantastic, but maybe try to set some time before or after the game so that if people are in the game to play the game, they can play the game. That's just my 2 cents. So this person, however, was more along the lines of thinking maybe a little bit further than I would go, but I'll take a look at this comment. Jokes and comments must be world appropriate. You may not break character except between scenes. Jokes between characters are encouraged, but not between the players. A little bit of a firm stance here, but later on in this post, he says, basically, as a GM, I've spent a lot of time preparing for this, and it's disrespectful to the group and to the game master if you are going to treat it with no respect, no severity. Now, this post actually I got a couple downvotes, so people didn't agree with that, but I actually think I agree a little bit with the sentiment in that if you're doing something as a group and one player, typically the GM, has put in a lot of time and effort to try to make it a certain way and be entertaining within the tone that you've established, I do think that it can be disrespectful if you're taking it so irreverently that you're not able to engage with it at all in a serious matter. Reddit did not fully agree with this comment, but I think that there is a little bit of validity to what was said. And lastly, we've got one more that I wanted to point out, and this one is interesting. So, somebody said, this is 100% a session 0 type of conversation. It'll always be different for different people. As I said, kind of a theme that was throughout, but we'll take a look at this specific one. MPE8691 said, it's not clear what's worst here. Session 0 type questions being asked in Reddit posts, or random people thinking they can give useful answers beyond just ask your table. So MP8691, thank you for your thoughtful critique. No, I'm just messing with you. However, I do think it's a good point to point out that part of Reddit and part of just any kind of YouTube related channel about role-playing games is to talk about these things and for people to share their opinions. So while you are technically correct, Mr. MPE8691, this is a conversation that people could have at their table. I also think it's just good to hear what people say, and hopefully by either reading this post or watching this video or just thinking about this, you might be a little bit better equipped for your table in the future when you want to play a game and if humor ever comes up. Although based on this comment, I'm not sure that there's going to be much humor at your tables regardless. Nah, I'm just messing. MP680, whatever you are, I hope you have a great day and thank you for your comment. And we'll finish up with this one. Purely on a group-by-group basis, there should not be any standardized answer to your question. So thank you, Big Papa Strahd, for saying that so eloquently, unlike some other posters. Just kidding, probably. But here's what I'll say. In general, it's gonna always come down to what does your table want, what is fun for your table. And so I think that is true. Talk with your table as game masters, try to communicate with your players early what the tone is and what is going to be the kind of story you're trying to tell. But as players, here's my recommendation. Try to find ways that your humor can enhance the story, can make sense within the story, and have everybody have a good time, as opposed to humor that is detracting, that is either stopping or breaking up the story, slowing down the story, or potentially biting purple worms. But that is just what I think. As always on social media, I want to ask, what do you guys think? Am I being the fun police? Are people goofing around too much at the table? And is Reddit the best place for information on any of your RPG related questions? Please let me know, and I would love to hear from you guys. And hopefully next video will be a continuation of our solo play. If you like what you saw on this channel, go back and take a look at my previous video. I'm doing a solo play of Metro Otherscape. So until next time, everybody, thank you for watching Templars Tabletop. Have a great day and happy gaming.